is, nope, that's not what I want. Oh my God. Um, I'm gonna autoplay, and then I'm gonna start letting people in. Okay, we're gonna resume recording. Uh, we're off to the races. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Alex, your moderator. We're gonna begin in about 2 minutes, but as you come in, take a look at our course offerings that are upcoming, and then we'll get started. Last room for the carousel, and then I'm going to introduce our wonderful presenter for the day, Mark Garrett. Hello, thank you all so much for being with us today. Again, my name is Alex. I am your humble moderator, and I would like to introduce Mark. He's going to be leading us through a pretty interactive AI-powered operations leader webinar. And so just feel free at any time. It's very participatory. Feel free to comment in the chat or come off mute or raise your hand if there's anything that you want to add to the conversation or any questions you have. And otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. We're gonna have a couple polls today. So I'd like for you to start off. So I wanted to know who's in the room. So Alex, can you drop the first question in the poll, please? As Alex mentioned, this is going to be quite interactive today. We're looking at a several week process, and as a result, we're not going to cover everything today. It gives us the opportunity to have a conversation. We're going to have some group discussions. We're going to have a breakout room. We're going to do it all. We're going to have all the fun stuff. So, yeah, this is definitely a participatory type conversation. So I'm going to have some fun words here, some mouthfuls of words. So let me just strategist, perfect, consultants. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, so we've got the team in place here. So I'm gonna go ahead and present the slides. I'm gonna share this. Do we get everyone in? Let's see, 6 of 8 participants. I'm
We are
guessing
two
that's
of those participants, I believe.
fantastic. Okay, let's drop the second
Yep.
second poll while I'm just sharing my screen here.
Okay.
All
And
right,
then
share, and
do um 1 second. And
1, 2,
then
3, share.
let's do
Fantastic. All right. Okay, so just want to confirm everyone sees the slides. Give me a thumbs up. One of the things is as you all know, Chris likes to use 1 for positive or yes, and 0 for no. So we're going to continue that. I think it's a great way. I've been ever since Chris introduced it, I've been doing that. So can you all see the slides? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Help me out. Alex, can you see the slide?
sure
Yeah.
can.
Fantabulous. Okay, small biz mid-market. Okay, we're split 50-50. No enterprise and no micro. Wonderful. Okay, good. Thank you,
I'm
everyone.
sorry, can I jump
Yeah,
in here? The Nicole Critchin. I, I
hi,
can't
Nicole.
answer this question because I serve all those markets.
Even better.
It's single
Perfect.
choice.
Perfect. Well, next time we'll make sure we have all of the above. Fantastic. Good.
Great.
Thanks,
Thanks.
thanks, Nicole, for that. Excellent. Okay, so as Alex mentioned, the AI powered operations leader. That is the conversation that we're starting today. It's going to go over, I think we're 6 or 8 sessions, assuming that we're providing good value. And thanks, Paul. And assuming that things are moving forward. Um, and if it needs to go longer, it will go longer. So happy to be here of service. So we now know that we've got consultants that serve small to mid markets, and a few of you service all. And Alex, if you could drop the final poll, that would be fantabulous. So while Alex is doing that, or the third poll. While Alex is doing that, let me give you kind of a quick about me. So Chief AI Officer, strategist, and operations side of things. I can hang out with Eton and totally nerd out. But really my value and what I provide to our team and to our clients is really bringing strategy down to an operations level and help the leadership team be able to take this grandiose concept of, hey, AI is really cool, and now I want to implement it. And that's where they fall down. So that's an area that I specialize in. Um, and so really, as the statement says here, why the most powerful technology in a generation is currently stuck in traffic, right? And how do you know as operation leaders are the only ones with a clear key? So we, Chief AI Officer community, consultants, CIOs, implementers, technologists, and people learning, you are the key to getting this implementation component unstuck. Okay, and that really kind of is the key to where we're at. So perfect. Okay. I coined a phrase a bunch of years ago. Oh my God, it sounds so funny. Like 2 years ago, and I said we need to take AI out of the boardroom, out of the server room and into the boardroom. And that was really designed around the concept of how do we, as consultants, help to take this out of the hands of the IT department? Because as we all know, AI is not about IT. It's about everything that AI can do around that. So with that said, there we are. Okay, here we are. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So this leads to this, and I posted this in the community, and you're going to see some more about these conversations. But AI is leadership is the bottleneck. So we've got the tools, we've got the tech, it's commoditized now. But the thing is that it's stuck at leadership. They don't understand how to move forward. They don't understand what they need to be able to do. And so I came up about 3 weeks ago with the idea that leadership is the bottleneck. And then I was so excited when Chris last Friday on the Chief AI Officer call was like, yeah, there's a bottleneck. And I was like, oh my God, so awesome. So we're going to have this conversation because to operationalize AI is to bring it out of the boardroom, out of yes, this is the direction we're going to go with this, and actually begin to start doing something with it. Okay. And so, the line here, it's constrained by operational maturity. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that leadership, and I'm meeting with a Fortune 500 company, the executive vice president of the company. Um, they meet with Microsoft every 3 months, or sorry, yeah, every 3 months, quarterly, to talk about infrastructure, manufacturing automation, all of that kind of stuff. They've got everything in place, and yet their team still doesn't use Copilot. Not because it's awful, not because there's better tools out there, because they haven't empowered the leadership and the mid-level teams to support the requirements that we all have gone through to learn how to use AI and bring it in, as you know, as we talk about, as thinking AI, right? Like that's a challenge, and that portion isn't there. So we got a racehorse or a Ferrari, and we're driving to the grocery store with it. And nobody seems to understand, how do we do that? How do we figure that out? So again, so just a quick kind of one is, kind of, you agree with this, two, you don't. Or if anybody has, like, if this has brought up a burning visceral desire to talk about this, please let's start that conversation here. Lots of ones. Okay, cool. Excellent. Perfect. Yeah. Does anybody have any experience with this? Like, I know some people are in various levels of their development and going to market with consulting or with strategy, and so on. But has anybody run into this bottleneck that I'm talking about? And if so, how did you get around it? What did you do? So if somebody wants to be brave and experience that and come off mute, that would be fantastic. Because as I mentioned, this is participatory. Not yet, not yet. Okay, let me share
I'll
a
jump in,
couple. Oh,
Mark, and I'll
please.
just say that I think it I don't want to say I'm having tons of success with this because I do believe that bottleneck is still there. But by sharing testimonials and showing actual successes for other businesses or organizations,
Yeah.
makes people sort of wake up and start to take notice.
So when you talk about, it's Nancy, right?
Nicole,
Oh, sorry, Nicole. Nicole,
that's
when you
okay.
talk about, yeah, for some reason I can't find my video, so I don't know who's speaking. Um, so Nicole, when you talk about that, are you talking about internally within teams to share your wins and successes, or are you talking about publicly in social media? Like, what are you doing in there, or both? Or if you could share some of that, that'd be great.
So I'm a solopreneur.
Yep.
So the way I'm using it is when I'm trying to help explain AI, how to say this. When I am talking with prospects or even just with peers
Mm-hmm.
in the the different industries, specifically with chambers of commerce and economic development and small businesses, I share examples because they
Yep.
say, oh well, yeah, we're using AI, we're writing mails and we use it to do this, and I'm really into the agentic AI part of it, so workflows, automations and stuff, and I just
Sure.
try to share, well, let me share a success story for you, and so you can, to try to broaden their perspective. So I do agree that it's a bottleneck, but I think it's just flat out because they don't understand it. They don't know what AI is. They don't know what they don't know, so they don't know what to ask.
Yep.
It definitely is a bottleneck. And if you talk to, like, if I talk to the head of a company and they'll say, yeah, our staff, our employees are using it. Well, they have no governance in place for it. So there's definitely a bottleneck from the leadership side, but I think there are a lot of different reasons, and it really comes down to they just don't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Anybody else want to share their experiences or their thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Please.
Um, um, the thing that I'm running into the most with clients, and these are mostly small business clients, is the misinformation or the
Yeah.
overly inflated claims that are being put forth by all the influencers and all the other people that are hyping AI. And to be honest with you, you get down to the bottom line. And yes, AI can do a lot of things, and there's a lot of really cool things that can be done with agentic AI. But for the majority of small businesses, the only real win that they're seeing is that, maybe it can help with scheduling a little bit, maybe it can help with writing an email here and there. They're not really seeing the real benefits that everybody's, touting from the mountaintops. And
Right.
I think the reason for that is the things that are being touted from the mountaintops aren't real world solutions. They're fun niche games that the tech guys like to play.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right with that, Paul. Thanks for bringing that up because, especially in the small and the micro side of things, right? The 5 to 20 employee companies. And I want to just call out here for a second. When we talk about the size of a company, we've got financial ways to look at companies, their total turnover, all those kind of things. Um, what I'd like for you to consider, don't adopt, just consider this as a different way of looking at this. We, Lucid, have decided to look at businesses based on their um, knowledge worker size. What do I mean by that? A small business could have 5 people. It could be a construction company, and they've got 500 people in the field, right? Building stuff. And so the AI requirements are still on those 5 people. So even though they've got 505 people and they turn over maybe 70, $80 million a year, maybe $100 million a year, AI implementation at the front office side of things is only 5 people. Operationally inside the field, yeah, we might have, call it 50 to 100 supervisors or managerial in the field, but they're not sitting on a laptop all day long typing. They need different types of applications. So when we talk about that, just is a really good area for context. And then small could be 20, 40 people, but there could be, again, another 500 people in the field. So when we look at this, when we talk about application, we talk about how do we operationalize AI, we need to put into context actually who's using the tools and so on and so forth. But yeah, Paul, I think with that being said, um, I'm I get caught into it too. All this hype about what is it now? Open claw, and all of these kind of things. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And as a leader of a company, one of the things that CEOs or owners or founders, whatever, or even solopreneurs, one of the things is to reduce risk. And one of the risk is that noise. And so if leadership's caught up in all of the noise of the influencers and the news and all of that hype, they then ultimately are actually slowing down progress. And so part of our job in as consultants and implementers and CAOs is to help you kind of reduce the noise, focus on what's actually important to their business and say, don't worry about the arms race of the models. You're not using AI today, doesn't matter what model you pick tomorrow. It's going to be better than what you're doing today, and that kind of thing. Um, so Paul, from that perspective, then how do you help them get through that misinformation, disinformation challenge?
Well, I want to give an answer, and I also want to pose this as a question to the rest of the group and see if they're experiencing the same thing. What I'm finding is that most of what most of the claims that are being made of what AI can do are things that we've already been able to do throughout the years with cron jobs, with
Yeah.
doing API automations and things like that. So what I see happening is that AI is making my job easier and allowing me to provide solutions faster. but the solutions that I'm providing faster and the job that I'm doing quicker is the same job that I've been doing for the past 20 years. I just have
Right.
the ability to do it faster, and I have the ability, because I'm not spending as much time, to not necessarily have to charge as much money for it.
Right.
And I was curious if other people that on the call are experiencing the same thing, where it's not necessarily the front line that's benefiting from AI. It's the people like us who are the back of the house consultants who have always been making the workflows work better and smarter and optimizing systems that are able to benefit from AI more today in terms of providing solutions faster. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great point. Does anybody else have comments? Going once, going twice. Let me share back to you, Paul. So yeah, so I marketing automation space is kind of been where I have been prior to AI. And so yeah, APIs and make and Zapier automations now end-to-end, and now you can do it in anti-gravity and all those kind of things. It used to be expensive and hard to do all those things. So we're not using AI in that process. We're using AI to create the process. But once it's created, it's still a manual or it's still an automated process. And there's no AI actually being done to perform the work that's there. So yeah, I think being really clear and helping leaders understand what's there. And as in the quote, the market's not constrained by innovation. There is like God, there's so much amazing stuff that's out there. It's the maturity, and then the other part of it is we need to scale back. We need to do an audit of their tools and say you don't need all this stuff. Like you need two or three tools, and then you need a consultant to help you wire it together and put it all together, and then you just gotta go do your job and leverage
I'm,
the
I'm finding
performance
that
gains and so on.
I'm fixing more of their problems that needed to be fixed to begin with,
Yeah.
but they want AI, and I'm like, I can't put AI on top of a problem because I'm just going to make your problem faster and worse. So let's go ahead and let's fix the problem. We get the problem fixed, and they don't need AI. They just needed the problem fixed.
A great observation. And again, this is where leadership comes in, and they're like, "Oh, we need AI," and you're 100% right. If the data is garbage, and data, I want to be really clear. If we're working on a in-house legal counsel project right now, 10, 11 in-house counsel. The company has been operating for 25, 30 years. Up until about 18 months ago, it was all outside counsel. They always contracted that. So their files are just a dog's breakfast of stuff everywhere and PDFs and different formats and awful naming conventions, and they're all over the place. And they're like, yeah, we want to use AI to help our legal team be able to be more efficient. Uh-huh. What do you want me to do about that? Like, you gotta go clean up your mess first, because that I can't put AI on top of, like you were saying, Paul. You can't put AI on top of stuff if it fundamentally can't read the documents that are in front of it. It doesn't know the context of where all those things are. So again, part of our role is to help unlock that bottleneck within leadership to help them see what's possible. All right, let's move on here to the next topic. So let's talk about where we're going and what this next 6, 8, 10 sessions is going to look like. So we want to go from this bottleneck concept to infrastructure. Like Paul said, like we're experiencing, and some of you kind of nodding and so on. Um, it, we are now at that point where every leader, executive, owner, solopreneur, through their community networks, through the news, whatever, they know that they have to move into AI. It is not a non-negotiable, or if they choose not to, they've got certain reasons. I was on a call this morning, a multinational corporation with a regional office in South Africa. Um, on Friday, no, I'm sorry, on next Friday, they are shutting down all AI action activity through the firewall level. They're shutting it all down because they can't control it. and they're afraid, and governance is gone, and the board's starting to get really freaked out about what's possible. So that, like, I mean, that is from like a global company that's churning close to $1 billion a year, have said next Friday we're turning it all off because there's been a few bad apples and a few areas where people have accidentally uploaded documents and so on. And so leadership just freaked out and paused. Again, they're the bottleneck. What they needed to do is have the correct infrastructure. They needed to have policy processes. They need to have, governance around that. And so how do we now help them to go from I'm not doing anything to open that door so we can begin to start getting some pilots going again. And we can begin to help them evolve this into a full wide infrastructure. And it doesn't matter whether it's a global multinational or it's the plumber down the street, right? That is trying to solve for when he's on the job site and get quotes out to people and handle those things. They're identical problems. It's just the scale. And it reminds me of the idea that, you know, um, wealthy people and poor people still have the same problems. It's just the size of the problem, right? Based on how much money you have, you still have the same problem. So for the small and the micro and the mid market, we're talking about the exact same thing here. All right, so let's move on. What have I've laid out for us? So number one, and part of today's conversation is this identity shift. How do we move from the boardroom back to the server room, but not just the server room? How do we move from the boardroom back to the meeting room? From the meeting room back to the desk, right? So we want to go from we're curious, we know we've got to do it, we've got some people dabbling, and here's the truth, right? Whether an owner says, well, we're not using AI, people are using AI. Like hands down, it's being used at your company, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, it's being used by some people. So you can either let it in or not. And it's I'm going to say something somewhat controversial. So my on my mother's side, the family's Italian, and my dad's it's English. And so when I grew up, you were allowed to have a glass of wine at family meals when you hit 14. In Canada, the drinking age is 19. In the States, obviously, it's 21. In different countries around the world have different drinking laws. But it was normalized in my house that it's a socialized thing, not I'm going to do it, but I'm going to go and steal from my parents and get some booze and go off on the weekend or have somebody buy me a case of beer, whatever it is. Um, every kid in my family, and we've got a fairly large extended family, everyone, barring one, is very, very responsible when it comes to their alcohol consumption. I'm not saying that you need to do that. What I'm saying is it's going to happen because people are humans and kids are going to go out and do that kind of stuff. Employees are going to go out and use AI, whether you like it or not. So we need to now begin to take it and say, okay, it's happening, it's here. Let's now put our arms around and figure out how that comes. So leadership needs to become that outcome owner. What's that gonna do to you? Interesting. I don't know why I call them two as 1 through 4. It should be 5 through 9 or 5 through 8. Then we're gonna look at strategic filtering next week. How do we score models? I'm not talking about LLM models. I'm talking about use cases, models of workflow, models of activity, and how people can look at this in terms because I want to frame this. The company has already bought AI. They know that this is the direction. All of the stuff that we're doing at that executive level and all of the work that we've done with inside the Chief AI Officer community, the assumption that we're in this program where we're starting from is you've already done that. Okay. We're now moving to how do we actually get this to the desk? How do we actually go and implement that? So we're going to go through that model. We're going to talk about some systems designs. I'm not going to talk about Eton level systems design. And for those of you who don't know, he runs the integrated course. We're not talking bits and bytes and coding and all that kind of stuff. What we're talking about is workflow systems. We're talking about how do I take a human-based workflow and look at where do I inject AI, where do I rely on it, and where do I not need it? So what step is AI actually doing? So we have an entire program that we roll with our clients, but Chief AI Officer also has a very similar one. And the key message behind the two is that we need to deconstruct a workflow process, identify where the value is that the human does, where the value that the AI does, and put it all back together, possibly in a completely new way, so that we can do that. Now, what's required to do that is change management. We're going to come to that in a sec. So then the wiring the stack. I am incredibly guilty of this on so many fronts, is trying to go for perfection. And AI has helped me to recognize that I can get to good enough incredibly fast. The slide deck is part of that example, right? This would have taken me back in the day, I probably would have spent a week on this, if not longer. We can knock this stuff out and it becomes disposable. So we can try again. The cost of compute, the cost of models, tokens, all of that technical stuff is now coming to the point where it is so cheap and so fast that good enough is more important to validate and test than perfect, because we have no risk of it's going to take 6 months to program, or Paul, you've been doing this for 20 years. I'm just kind of pick on you a little bit, but back in the day, you had to scope it all out because it was going to take weeks to build these things. Now we can do them in hours or days, so that risk is now gone. So let's get to good enough, figure out if it works, and then start to kind of really put the wrapping around it so it becomes a lot more stable. We have seen since November 22, right? So for those of you who've been in the Gen AI space since the very beginning of, I'll call it the new age of Gen AI, so that kind of November, December of 22 timeframe, change management has become one of the critical elements. It was back 3 years ago, and it's still today, even more so. And then finally, the last three, we need to look at pragmatic governance. If you say governance, it is the fastest way to roll eyes, under the table text messages, and people checking out. So we need to look at governance from a pragmatic perspective if we want to actually implementation or get AI to be implemented. So how do we start with absolute must-haves? What's the red line? This is mandatory? These are guardrails. These are, you should know how to do this. And how do we manage that so that we can evolve governance so it's not sorry, what did you say about, yeah, okay, I'll get back to that. So it's not that it's an overwhelming, like this massive thing, but oh, I get it. I understand why. And getting the buy-in from the people. And that goes back up to change management. Now, all of this is all wonderful and it's all good and it's great. And we see all of the studies and everything, but how do we model ROI? Okay, so for those of you in the Chief AI Officer certification program, I know we've got some great tools in there, but for those of you who aren't, there's a couple different ways to look at some of this stuff. And so we're going to talk about that in one of the sessions. And then what ultimately, that last thing is the showcase, the peer review of a completed AI operator playbook. Throughout the sessions, we're going to be building out a playbook. That playbook is how do we actually bring our version of what we do, problems we solve, and who we help to fruition, so that you now have an operating playbook that you can then go and install in your clients. Okay. And so ultimately that's the workflows, help you build out the prioritization of a roadmap, and then create this pragmatic risk framework on all of that. So that's really what we're signing up for here today. And this is how we actually get AI to stick in workforces and in teams, so that the investment that's made both in your services, the technology, and the human capital inside and resources inside the company or your client is actually realized. And they want you to stay. They want you to continue. They want to help their employees. Their employees are excited about this and that they refer you to other people. That's ultimately what we're here to do. Okay. Is that some thumbs up? Is that good? 1, 2, 3. You know what? One or zero? Is that you want to stick with that? Is that a good thing? Perfect, Paul. Okay. Lisa, I'm just going to come over here to the chat. So work documents, management solution. You're terrific. Okay, cool. Excellent. Okay, thanks. I'll get back to that. All right. All right, so let's jump forward here for a second. So in terms of one being yes, one being yes, zero being no, how many of you have started to do pilots with your clients, or maybe pilots with inside your own company if you run your own AI agency or so on, or if you're an employee of a company? How many of you have started running pilots? And warning, if you say a one, I'm going to ask you to come off mic and share some of your experience. Oh, only two of you. Come on. There's got to be anybody else out there doing pilots? Okay. All right. So let's just talk about pilot for a second. I respect and admire the work that's being done by many of the chief AI officers. And at the same time, I am struggling to get the $50,000, $100,000 check for an engagement. What I am hearing, and this is just our own activity, is we've already invested. We've already been burned. It's too much. It's too big. We don't understand. And so we circled back and said, okay, we need a governance program. We need a leadership alignment program. And then we need your help to figure out one or two areas that is too much admin. There's too much risk. There's too much time spent in human labor doing something that can be automated and augmented with AI, but they don't know how to get there. So pilots are one of the best ways. Now, I can't remember if it was McKinsey or Deloitte or one of the others, but they coined the term pilot purgatory. So we want to be careful that we don't stay in pilot purgatory. So proposal we just submitted today, they asked for a pilot. Okay, we can absolutely do a pilot, and we're going to go back and do some of that strategic stuff. We're going to help you understand where AI sits in the company. And we're also going to come back and we're going to look at how do we take that pilot and move past the pilot, right? And that's the scale. And this really is now where we have to take this concept and move it. So, so the bottleneck isn't the intelligence of the model. We know that. It's the absence of an operating model that leadership is willing to own and evolve. And that is the confidence to then have and accept that we're eventually going to move out of a pilot into some level of scale. What do I mean by that? Let's assume we're a Microsoft first company, client that we're working with, and we're going to work with, I don't know, a dozen people on an email automation process that takes emails, scans them. If there's attachments, puts them into SharePoint, properly meta tags them so that they're available for search, and then drafts replies and puts them in the inbox. Okay, that's a big workflow. That's scary to a lot of people. That is potential loss of control, and it saves so much time. And we're not going to roll that out to 20 or 40 or 100 or two people. We need to run it on 1 or 5 or 10 people to see how that works. Now, this is where everybody stops. What do we do next? Well, let's plan that in advance. Let's plan the scale and say, if that works, and here are what success criteria look like for that pilot, then we're going to move to phase 2. We're going to expand it to another department or another group of people or another team and take that one initiative and eventually roll that out so it's not stuck in a department or it's not stuck within an initial team. And that helps to be able to expand and provide the rest of the team with the knowledge and comfort that's there. Okay. Um, so I want to talk about now the AI powered operator. So who owns the outcome? So for us to move it out of leadership, we now need to begin to delegate ownership of process. There was a fantastic slide that Chris had, and I believe he sourced it from Ian Otley, where, and I should have put it in here, but it's the org chart, right? So you've got all the verticals, you've got marketing, sales, ops, whatever. Then you've got chief AI officer, and they've got the AI committee, council, pardon me, AI council. And then inside each of the departments, you have individuals that are charged with the responsibility of helping with AI within those areas. How do we assist leadership to build that model? Okay, so go back to the pilot. The pilot is the process. So somebody's got to own that process and walk it through. Um, Part of that process is they need to understand the intelligence and what's possible and how those things come. And then ultimately it's empowerment of the people. And so who owns all of that? And more importantly, who is given the authority, the autonomy, and the requirements, I guess, to be able to facilitate that within the team? Because if you give the ownership of this tool or of this process modification to somebody, but you don't give them the authority to act within it and hold people accountable to using it and allow for support and reduce productivity while people are learning the process, then it's doomed to fail. So we need to look at this operator and really figure out how do we help that person own the process and own the outcome. Ultimately, so the person sitting at the desk is the one that owns that. But we need to provide a support layer, and that's where that flow chart. And if anybody's not seen it, Alex, can you make a note for me, please? That we'll put that as a resource. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Alex, do you know the slide that I'm talking about?
No, can you remind me really quick?
I'll get it. Just remind me that there's a org chart slide that we need to add to the section.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're the best, Alex. Thank you.
You
Okay.
are.
Okay. So here's something else, and I threw this in only because it's a framework that we've really again we saw it anecdotally, and then we started to see this now showing up in the research. So who has seen this 10-20-70 rule before? Just one or zero, it's fine. I believe this is from Boston Consulting. And by the way, one of the things I'll be providing for everyone is a notebook LM to share with everyone where all the resources I'm collecting for this are. Okay, thanks, Paul. So what this is, it's the 10-20-70 rule. What that means is 10% of the gains that we're getting in AI adoption is from the algorithms, the models, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever that is. Okay. 10% of the overall net gain is coming from the model. Okay. The next 20% is the data, the technology, the infrastructure, the where do we save the files? How do we name the files? All of that kind of implementation stuff. The server room, if you may, from my earlier conversation, we need to move AI out of the server room into the boardroom. And as you can guess, 10 plus 20 is 30%. There's still a big 70% of successive AI implementation. That's the people. And so whether we like it or not, whether we are a technology-driven person and play in code and play in that space, If we want companies to begin to adopt AI and begin to operationalize it into workflows, into areas of their team, we need to really focus on change management and the challenge that the human is creating, right? So that really is kind of the thing. Now, the second point here is something that I mean, they're all smart consultants, so sure, let's give it to them. I'm still trying to figure out the math. I don't agree with this, but they're saying for every dollar that you spend on algorithms and tech, you need to spend another dollar on people. Okay. I actually think it's $1 on tech and $2 on people. That's my point of reference because they're the critical point in this. But what that means is if there's a new infrastructure, if there's new licensing, you've hired a company to go and take you off of your full servers and move you into the cloud and do all those kind of things. And I don't know, let's say that costs you $10,000. The company should be considering on spending ten to $20,000 in training and upskilling and helping their workforce be able to leverage, embrace, and figure out how to use these new tools. Otherwise, it's a Ferrari going to the grocery store, and it just doesn't make sense. Okay. So I'd like to just whoa, time wise. Holy cow. I'd like to do a breakout real quick and then we'll come back. So there's enough people. Let's do two, Alex, and let's do 5 minutes if we could. So
Not a
what I want
problem.
what I'd like everyone to do while Alex is setting this up is I would like for you to just in your twosomes um, chat about this for a few minutes and what does all this mean and what are you seeing? And then we'll come back and we'll wrap up today's session with some exchange of information. So, Alex, if you could pop everyone into breakouts,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be fantabulous.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just setting them up right now. Do, 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 do. Oh, Anthony, if you are, yeah, there we go. All right. So, Mark, they are in the rooms.
Perfect.
Yep. I
Perfect.
did Anthony and Nicole and Lisa and Paul.
Okay. We only have the four. I thought we had more people, or some people drop off.
Yeah, they might have dropped off. It happens every time.
Yep. I'm not offended.
Right, right. Should,
It's okay.
as you should not be.
When we
Uh,
chat like this, is this recorded or do the rooms get recorded? I don't
I
remember.
don't know.
Well, we'll find out.
Yes. Let's see.
Excellent. Is there a timer to show when they come back?
Um, no, but I can broadcast a thing that, 60 seconds left kind of thing.
Okay, perfect.
So it's 51. Do you want me to have them back by 55? So give them
Yeah,
a
let's do
one
that.
minute
Let's do
warning
that.
at 54. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Thanks.
Sounds good. Do you want to be able to go in the rooms at all?
Next time I will. I'll pop
Okay.
in, but not right now. I can see here that I can pop in and out, but
Okay,
next time I
great.
will. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give them the 1 minute.
Perfect.
All right. Okay, and I did a 60-second. It should be closing the rooms then.
Perfect. Yeah, I was on a training program that lasted about the same length as this, and every session there was at least, it was 2 hour sessions though, but there was at least two breakouts.
Yeah,
That was so powerful.
yeah.
I didn't have my clock on, or I couldn't see my clock, and I was just like, oh, I think I'm doing okay. My gut was like, oh yeah, we're good. Let's go. Skip, skip, skip. But the good thing is that this isn't consistent. Like it's not a one and done. There's ongoing.
Yeah.
So there's two slides that we'll bring forward to next week, which is, or next 2 weeks from now, which is fine. Okay. Everyone coming back?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Oh, now it ends in 35 seconds. Perfect. Lisa and Paul, are you guys back?
Yes. Lisa
Yep,
and
there's
Paul are
Lisa and Paul.
back.
Excellente.
And Anthony and Nicole will probably join in a moment.
Okay, perfect. Smith. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
All right,
All
we're back.
right. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, oops, let me share my screen again. So what did you learn? I'd love just some feedback. So if one of you from each of the groups could come off. Lisa, we haven't heard from you yet today. Not to put you on the spot, but if you're comfortable, we'd love to hear from you.
Sure. So we were just discussing kind of what we're currently doing with our consultancies, and just sharing some feedback that Paul had about how he's working with clients, trying to tackle small wins with projects versus big implementations, and that's building
Yep.
trust, which is critical and very much important um, to the overall strategy. And then, maybe scaling down and working on with smaller businesses within his local community, which is the approach that I'm trying to take. I haven't launched my business yet. I'm in the process of doing that.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
next week, I'm presenting in front of a local chamber here that they just asked me to do this morning. So that was exciting.
Perfect.
And
Do you have
then
a way to collect names?
yeah, we have a
Perfect.
database and got all
Okay,
of their
good.
names, and we're going to do it like workshop style.
Good.
And then I was sharing that I'm getting another certification with the Industry Rockstar Group with their AI assisted program for leadership and cultural change management. So this is a
Nice.
brand new certification that we started in mid-December, and it's very exciting. It's exactly the topic we're talking about here, and how to approach it, ways to go in and do assessments, starting with leadership, and just actually trying to find out their mindset, and then walking them through the paradigm shifts that we're in right now and what needs to happen with the change and how we're approaching our jobs and careers, and working with the leadership to understand that, and then going down into middle management and doing those interviews and assessments there. So
Perfect.
it's all exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, I love that idea about change management. Thanks. Thanks for that. Anthony, we haven't heard from you. Not to put you on the spot, but if you could jump off, if not, Nicole.
Yep. Can you see me?
Yeah, perfect.
So Nicole and I just discussed some of the unique challenges. Oh, first off, I am not doing the AI work at this time in terms of I'm gearing up to it and building out my infrastructure and hopefully being able to launch. Well, I shouldn't say hopefully, we'll be able to launch before the end of the month.
Good,
Um,
good, good, good.
but that being said, the we really focused on her perspective of where some of the companies were at this time and the ability for them to afford the $50,000 types of down payments and really thinking through, and even some of the companies that I've worked with, where their philosophy or mindset is in terms of that investment at this time, not fully grasping the full breadth of AI as to where it is.
Yeah.
Many of them still thinking that AI is ChatGPT. Others
Yeah.
thinking, the overall cost of that initial step into the space. It's interesting. We didn't talk about this much, but sometimes I think easing people into a tiered approach may be maybe easier in terms of stepping into something smaller and then saying, this is this chunk, the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We'll see, one step at a time. But I really look forward to your guidance, Mark, on all this. Or I'm sorry, Steve or Mark?
Mark. Yeah, Mark. Yeah.
Mark. Okay.
Yeah. I think Anthony, I think you're. So I don't want to dissuade you from the $50,000 ticket. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I also want to say that if you have an infrastructure and a brand like Chief AI Officer and the various people that are at that level, you have credibility. You can command that. I think for some companies, the smaller companies that many of us work with, that's an annual salary for many of their people. And so how do we manage that? How do we reconcile it? So yeah, I think in many cases there's going to be a staged approach. Start small, as we like to say, wander the halls, help them, guide them, and then begin to build trust and become a strategic partner with them so that they can actually see you as a guide and an advisor to implementation and really beginning to operationalize that. So I just want to acknowledge that it's 2:02, so we'll Eastern 1:02. I guess that's Central. So we'll wrap up for this session. One of the things I did want to just kind of jump forward here and just leave you with is um, I have one question for you. If you could turn one manual high friction process into a repeatable automated system this month, what would it be? So, because that's the same question you're going to ask your clients. At the Chief AI Officer level, we talk about that, and part of that is to eat our own cooking, right? So what do you need to do? Yep, Paul, no problem. Thanks so much for your time. So what are you doing to begin to implement that for your own business so that you can use that as demonstration, but also understand what it feels like to have to work through that process. So we're back in 2 weeks, same time, same space, same team. And I look forward to helping you through this journey. If there's any questions, DM me or hit me up on the channel for these events. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll expect you.
Yeah, Mark, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. I will be sending the resources, Mark, the slide resources, anything you want to send me. I'll be sending them to the powers that be, and they'll hopefully be up in Circle soon. And otherwise, everyone just stay safe, take care, and thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you. All right, everyone, take care. See you in
Bye,
the community.
everybody.
Bye for now.